So my words of Torah this morning are addressed to two kind of groups. It's addressed for, first of all, those people in Beit Torah who, like me, are accustomed to lose things. So if you are in that category, hear me well, please. I don't mind when I lose a pair of socks. I mind when I lose one sock. Because then, what am I going to do with the one that I still have? My wife tells me that she doesn't mind if she loses both of her earrings, but she's annoyed when she loses one. And so if this ever happened to you, listen to the story that I am about to tell you. Second group within the Beit Torah family to whom these words are addressed are those people that are searching for spiritual meaning in their lives and who have tried the Talmud and have found nothing there. If you are such a person, if you are someone who has been turned off by the petty details and the many laws that are found in the Jewish tradition, listen to the story I'm going to tell you. So I learned the story from Erica Brown. Erica Brown is a scholar, and she's known in our days because she's dedicating most of her time to spread the words and the teaching of Rabbi Sachs of blessed memory. This is what she's doing now. So she says that she once met a woman who dropped out of college, as many young people in those days used to do, and she went off to India to find herself. I must say that I don't understand why people go halfway across the world to India to find themselves when they were never there. So they didn't lose themselves there. So, but that's a topic for a different sermon. At any rate, on the way to India, this young woman stopped in Israel to visit some relatives who lived there. The family was delighted to see her, and they suggested that before she went to India, she should at least visit one of the schools for Jews who are in search for spirituality that exist in Israel. So she agreed, and so her relatives gave her the address of a yeshiva for newcomers that was located in Ir HaAtika, in the old city in Jerusalem. She walked in and took a seat, and she found that the class was studying the chapter of Elu Metziot in the tractate of Baba Metzia. This chapter deals with the question of what do you do if you find something that someone else has lost. It says that if you find someone else's calf, you must take it home, and you must take care of it, and then when everyone goes to the central sanctuary on the Tree Pilgrimage Festival, you must make an announcement that they have found somebody's calf. If the person can identify the calf, you give it back to him. If the person does not come forward and claim that the calf is his or hers, but the chapter deals with the question, how does the loser prove that it's really his calf? If he has a distinguished mark like a scar over the eye, then he can prove it's his. But if he looks like all other calves, and if it has no distinguished marks, how can you prove it's yours? And what about the cost of maintaining the calf until its owner is found? Does the finder have to pay those costs, or can it charge them to the original owner? So and on and on and on and on and on. The Talmud goes page after page, discussing in great details the question of what are your rights and what are your obligations if you find lost property. What do you think was the reaction to all this of this young woman who had come to the class that day in search of spirituality? Can you guess? She was bored to death, and you and I would probably have been in the same position. All these technical details seem silly and petty to her. They certainly did not speak to her soul. So when the class was over, she went back to her relatives, thanked them so much for the hospitality. Arrivederci, go to India. There she felt certain that she would find a meaning for her life and guidance for her soul that she had not found in the class in Talmud in Jerusalem. When she got to India, she found a guru who she had been told was a master of spirituality. She studied with him for 6 wonderful months. She learned how to meditate. She learned how to push out of her consciousness all of the mundane matters that usually occupy their mind and to focus on ultimate truth. She learned how to fast from speech, which, believe me, is much harder than fasting from food. She learned a great many profound spiritual truths from this man. Then one day, the two of them were walking together on the street of Calcutta, and they saw a wallet lying on the street. The guru bent down and picked it up and put it in his pocket. She asked him how he could do that, and he answered with whatever the Indian expression of finders, keepers. And when she saw him do that, the memory of what she had learned that day at the yeshiva in Yerushalayim came back to her mind. She remembered how in that school they had worried about all the details of what you have to do when you find lost property, about how you must work to find its rightful owner, about who is liable for the cost of the maintenance until the owner is found, and about how the owner must prove that the calf is really his. And now all of a sudden, that class did not seem irrelevant and boring the way it was. All of a sudden, she realized that behind these seemingly petty details, there lay a deep spiritual truth, which is that property belongs to its rightful owner, and it's a sin to keep it just because you happen to have found it. All of a sudden, she realized that behind all these pages of what seemed like minutiae, there was a moral and spiritual lesson. All of a sudden, she realized that she had lost something too. She had lost her Jewish heritage, which was rich in ethical and spiritual insights, that it was time to go home and reclaim it. And so, as soon as she could, she packed up and left India and went back to Yerushalayim. And Erika Brown says, this woman is a teacher in a gap year program for students who want to reclaim their Jewish heritage as she has done. Isn't it a beautiful story? Okay, I tell it to you today for 2 reasons. One, that we may learn to have respect for the laws of lost property, which are found in today's Torah reading, and which are found in 2 other sidrot in the Torah, and which are then developed in great details in Talmud. I tell it to you so that you may know that the next time you find an earring or a sock or a wallet or anything else that does not belong to you, that you have religious obligation. And that is, if you ignore it and you stuff it, is like you are stealing. Judaism is concerned with find and loss in the same way with forbidden foods, violating Shabbat, or committing any other action that is forbidden in the Torah. And one more thing, which is that all legal systems, like the Talmud and like our legal codes, are detailed. Because it is the nature of the law to be specific and to think about each and every possible situation that may arise. Law is not poetry, and law is not oratory. Law is detailed, and law is pity. But that does not mean that it does not contain moral and spiritual lesson. It only means that these lessons are expressed in the language of what should I do if, and what are your obligations if. So let me finish by telling you one more story that comes from India. I do so because I believe that it's not right for me to judge other religions from this bima. It's not my place to demean or to denigrate other faiths. I do so because I believe that there are deep spiritual truths to be found in all faiths, and that no faith should disparage another. So let me tell you this story, also comes from India. It said that Mahatma Gandhi, the great moral teacher who created modern India, was once running to catch a train. He just barely got aboard as the train pulled off, but somehow one of his sandals fell off as he climbed aboard. What should he do? He could not go back to retrieve the lost sandal, for the train was already picking up speed. Quick as a flash, without pausing to think, he took off the other sandal and threw it off the train. Why did he do that? Because he understood that one sandal would do him no good, and one sandal would do no good to whoever found it. And so he threw the second one out, so that whoever found them, both, would be able to use them. You only learn to do that instinctively, without pausing to think, if you have lived a disciplined life. You only learn to do that quickly if you have practiced doing good all of your days. And so, there is much to admire and much to learn from this story about Gandhi. And I feel fairly sure that if he had ever wandered into that yeshiva in the old city of Yerushalayim, and if he had been exposed to the chapter of Elu Metziot in the tractate of Baba Metzia, he would have understood it, and that he would have appreciated it, and that he would have learned a moral lesson from it. And therefore, so should we. I wish you many years of not losing things, and above all, I wish you that you may take to heart the words of the Torah and the insight of Elu Metziot, so that you will appreciate what the Torah has to teach us on this and many other issues in our lives. Shabbat Shalom.